5-year-old Eris Howard is seeking help to be able to travel back to the U.S. Now he and his father can't do so, all because of a custody battle that went too far.
I'm dying and I'm begging for help because the FBI keeps intimidating me. My life is on the line here, and they've destroyed my career, they destroyed my health, they destroyed my finances.
Passed about 100 kidney stones today. No, I'm not joking. About 15 of them were 2 millimeters or larger, and there were a few that were 3 millimeters or larger. It used to happen every week or so. This explains why I've been in such pain the past few weeks. Feeling better, but don't know for how long.
Chad Howard's story is a very sad and interesting one. It's about how the justice system is a completely corrupt system and how he went from making a 6-figure salary with Microsoft to struggling to pay essential needs and literally dying because he cannot get the medical attention he needs. This is the story of Chad Howard, the TikTok fugitive. So before I get into anything, I want to give a little bit of insight on this video. So I have chapters down below if you do not care about this at all and you just want to get right into the video, but I do want to warn you before you skip to anything, this video is going to be terrible video quality. I recorded this whole entire thing before I got a new camera, which you guys can see right here. Hopefully it lives up to your guys' standards, and it does for me personally. I think it looks amazing. Got brand new lighting. Now I have a light box. I'm really just getting into the groove of this whole thing. In 2022, I made a video and a YouTube short about Chad, and this actually gained a lot of views and ended up to him reaching out to me asking to do an interview on my channel, which I said yes to, and I still have the 2-hour interview to this day in the vault. The reason why I never posted this is because I was just really done with YouTube at the time. I was working on getting my apartment, working in my real life job that was actually making me some money, and I just didn't have time, to be honest. But now I am here and I plan to stay. I spent a lot of money on this camera. So I do not plan for this money to go anywhere. I plan for this money to make good use and to make good quality YouTube content finally. But anyways, I'm very sorry to you, Chad, if you're watching this. I'm sorry for not messaging you for almost a year at this point and just completely dropping the video because I knew that you really needed this video to drop because at the time Chad was going through some health problems and he really needed the exposure as much as he possibly could. I'm very glad that he was able to get it throughout other measures and other YouTube interviews. In this video, I'm not just going to be going through Chad's story alone. I'm going to be going through everything. I'm going to be going through, do I think that this whole situation is real or do I think it is fake? You guys will find out in this video. Let's get right into it. Chad's story starts in 2001. While working a senior position at Microsoft, he and his wife didn't really have the best relationship. By his own words, he and her were more like a friendship than an actual relationship. But Chad had that mindset of that when you are married, you're pretty much stuck married and you have to work through the problems together. After trying that for a little while, it didn't really work out, and in late 2001, he and his wife filed for a divorce. Around this time, Chad got a job offer that pretty much had him to go overseas. So he'd be traveling all across the world, and he would go on to leave his son in Tennessee with the mother. He had an agreement where Chad would have to give a 2-week notice in order to go right ahead and see his son. So 2 weeks before he even entered the state, he let the ex-wife know, hey, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna go see my kid, and that he could call him and talk to his son as long as the son wanted and he wanted. This instantly was a problem. He would call and be told by his ex-wife that the son was busy and that he could only talk for a few minutes at a time, even sometimes not even be able to talk to them at all, and it would get straight to voicemail. And sometimes even when he did show up to the US for visitation, he would give the notice, of course, and they would not be there. This went on for about 2-ish years. They ended up going to an arbiter, which is pretty much a meeting where the two parents sit together and talk in agreements so they don't have to go to court or anything like that or waste the court's time. And they talk about an agreement for the two parents where they can get visitation and everything like that. In this, the lady who was in charge of the meeting of the arbiter actually said this about the wife, the ex-wife at the time.
And the arbiter asked her to leave the room, and the arbiter talked to my lawyer and I, and she says, I have never in my entire career, which spans decades, met someone so intransigent, and that's the word she used, intransigent, as your ex-wife. And she says, I'm going to do something for the first time in my entire career, which spanned decades. I'm going to tell the judge there is no arbitration and send you straight to the court.
He ended up getting married to another woman pretty quickly after this divorce. Chad pretty much said that he waited for the divorce to go completely through in order to marry this new woman. They got married in around 2002. In mid-2004, he ended up getting a hold of his son when he tells him that they are moving to a place called Cherry. And Chad has no idea where this is and had no idea of this move beforehand. She did end up mentioning, by the way, a discussion about possibly moving. It was a discussion, it wasn't a set thing. And overall, overall, Chad had no idea that this was happening at the time. And in late 2004, she ends up doing the unthinkable and literally moving without telling Chad exactly where she was, and moves to a completely different state.
But he picked up. And I was like, yo, cool. I couldn't get through. And he's like, hey, Dad, what's up? And I'm like, so, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's up? And he's like, we're moving to, and I hear the door open. Get off the phone. And she slams the phone down. And all I can hear is we're moving to Cherry. I don't know where Cherry is. And when you move, you have to go before the court and tell the court you're moving. You can't just move, right?
Right.
And every state varies, and I have to look this up again, but I think in Tennessee it's either 30 or 60 days you have to notify the court. And they don't generally stop you. I mean, they can. But generally it's like, we just want to make sure that the parental rights are going to be transferred, everything's good, where the jurisdiction's going to go to, and the court just needs to know. But at one point she had mentioned, because neither of us was from Tennessee, and I love Tennessee, but she's like, I don't really have anything in Tennessee. So she was like, do you mind if we move closer back to her parents? Which is also where my parents at the time lived. We were both from Erie County, Pennsylvania. And I said, well, in principle, I'm open to the idea. I understand you don't have anybody in Tennessee. Alex has been raised there. But if you think it's a better move, I'm certainly open to discussion about the matter.
You actually have to give the court a notice, okay? I am a person with divorced parents, and I know I even know this, okay? And I was like 13 at the time when I was moving states. I know that you have to give the court a notice beforehand moving, and that they have to accept it, and the father kind of has to accept it. It really matters who has full custody of this said child. So she moved and ended up not telling Chad at all. So Chad, freaking out, of course, ended up leading him go from Europe to the United States to go right ahead and look for his son, because he had no idea where he was and couldn't contact him at all. He ended up calling all the schools in the area that she said that he would be in, which is Pennsylvania, Ohio, or New York. She really gave him an area of where she was, which is very messed up. After tens of schools that he called, finally just decided to go ahead and start calling the districts and the administrators of these said districts. He finally found where she lived and served her papers, and they placed her in contempt of court because of this situation here. And after many court battles in 2004, in the end of 2004, he was granted full custody of his son, and they had the county police actually come to the mother's house and forcibly take the son from her while she was screaming, crying, doing whatever she could to keep the son away from Chad for some reason. Chad did mention that the judge in Pennsylvania got a decent amount of information wrong in this case. He actually got the dates wrong, he got the times wrong, and this would later actually jeopardize this whole entire case here. He took him back to Tennessee, and he moved from Europe back to Tennessee with his new wife. And by the way, she was on a visa, a temporary visa at that, because she couldn't get a green card at the time, because it was a pretty abrupt move. They weren't really expecting it. They just moved from Europe back to the United States, and she was a resident of Russia. So during this time, he connected with his son again, because the mom kind of brainwashed the kid a little bit. She went on to tell his son that Chad was actually trying to kidnap him, take him across seas and everything like that, and pretty much freaking out this kid and brainwashing him for no reason. During this time, the son mentioned to Chad that his ex-wife had a lot of problems. And I'm gonna go ahead and let Chad explain one of the problems right here, because this is just severely messed up and very sad in this situation.
So he had one dog, and the dog, well, it had a name, but his name was Black Dog. That was the dog's name. It was a black dog, and it was a black lab type thing, and he called it Black Dog. He would go outside, and this was like Lassie to him, right? He'd run all over the horse farm, and the dog followed him everywhere. This was his buddy. And the dog wasn't that old. It wasn't in the bad of shape. And I come to find out, so after a long time, a lot of coaxing, he says, Black Dog is dead. And I'm like, what happened to Black Dog? Because, I mean, I knew Black Dog. I mean,
Right.
Black Dog was there when I lived there. He says, Mom took Black Dog to the Humane Society and put it down. And I said, why? Was Black Dog sick? Because I said, Black Dog wasn't that old. Black Dog at that time would have been, 6 or 7, which is mid-age for a dog, but, not exactly old, especially a mid-sized dog like that. They usually live 13 to 15 years. And he says, Mom said you don't send enough money for dog food, so we had to put him down.
After that, they ended up getting the son therapy about weekly or bi-weekly. So the main court hearing happened. In this, I'm not going to read the full transcripts because there is a lot to go through, and I don't want to make this like a 20-minute video when it doesn't need to be. But during this, Chad pretty much wanted custody of the child. He pretty much said agreements where he would have the child and go overseas with him and move back to Europe, and his son would go to his mother's for the summer. And what she wanted full custody of the child and for Chad to have no visitation rights at all. And the judge pretty much said, no, I'm not going to do that. He gave the mother full custody. Of course, as you know, it's very hard for men nowadays, or at least back then. Now it's a little bit more simpler, but back then it was very hard for men to get full custody of children. So the judge pretty much ruled that the mother would get full custody again, and the child would be able to go to Chad's, and that the child would be able to go to Europe during summers and vacations. And of course, Chad would have to pay for everything. So summer comes around, and Chad books his flight for his son, and everything is set up. He's all ready for his son, and it's summer vacation. It's time for him to be able to spend time with his son. Then his ex-wife decides to say to Chad, you cannot make me sign him up for a passport. This was a couple weeks before he was actually supposed to leave for Europe to go see his father. After fighting back and forth, Chad actually ended up going to court again to go ahead and get a court order to make her get a passport for the son. Then she says, oh, I have no money. I can't afford this. So Chad ends up sending money to get her a passport for his son. Then she does it again.
But she's like, well, I can't be bothered to take him to the airport. It's too much trouble. So I'm like, okay, I'll have somebody pick him up. So he goes to pick them up at the arranged time. He has communicated with her. We have her phone number now because the court's like, you got to give us a phone number, because she still don't get the phone number. So my stepdad's communicated. It's all prearranged. My stepdad shows up. They're not home. So now I'm out a $1,200 and some plane ticket, $1,300, I think. And again, that's, 2004, 2005 money. So let's say $2,000 today. I'm out that. We don't know where they are. He's not in the plane. So it's back to court again, right?
So I need to explain something. In order to be a resident in Pennsylvania, you have to live there for 6 months. And at the time, she was only living there for about 3. So she technically was not a resident of Pennsylvania. So they did not need to go through Pennsylvania court system. They didn't need to talk to the Pennsylvania judge at all. That dude was pretty much irrelevant as fuck, okay? They did not need to talk to him. So they ended up going to court in Tennessee. And of course, she did not show up to this court hearing. So the judge was very pissed off because he warned her about being like this before, saying, hey, you need to show up to these court hearings or else I'm literally going to give Chad full custody of your son. And that ended up happening. And she ended up not listening to even this judge. She ended up missing multiple court hearings and just keeping her son away from Chad for absolutely no reason at this point. So then the judge gives her an ultimatum that she needs to come to Tennessee for a court hearing and give Chad her son, or else they are going to forcibly take her son and end up putting her in contempt of court and probably charged with a couple crimes. She then finally showed up and started instantly lying and talking shit about all the other lawyers that were on her case and helping her. Obviously, the judge was not happy about this. He ended up calling one of the lawyers in and asking her, hey, are you going to call attorney-client privilege if he goes on the stand and talks? And she said, I do not care. The guy ends up talking for a little bit, and everything that she said was pretty much a lie. Finally, after a year, he was able to bring him and his son to Turkey, where Chad was living at the time, and leave their crazy mom/ex-wife. Now, it was the same visitation that Chad had, so the child would spend summers with the mom now and be with Chad full time. His son was in very good education. Because of his connections with Microsoft, he actually got him to a school that costed about $15,000 a year, while his mother was actually claiming that her son was in an inappropriate substandard school and that he wasn't learning anything. Like, I don't understand it, but whatever. Chad would have very good communication with his ex-wife at the time. I'll let Chad explain this for himself.
And if we left the house for so much as 24 hours, I had an international cell phone. I had a Skype number, which was U.S., which I maintained for her, so she didn't have to pay for international calling. She could call our U.S. Skype number. I bent over backwards to maintain communication there. If we left the house for so much as 24 hours, if he even spent the night at a friend's house, I would inform her. He is spending the night at a friend's house this weekend. Here's the address of his friend up the street. If we went to Athens, I would give her the hotel address and phone number, plus she had my cell, plus she had my email, plus she had my U.S. number.
The mom actually disconnected her phone and or changed her phone number. So Chad started sending mail, and then the mail started coming back. The mail, by the way, took about 6 to 8 weeks to mail, because this is obviously back in like 06, 07. So the mailing system isn't as good as it is today. So summer of 2007 comes around, and Chad still had no contact with his ex at all. He decided not to send his son over for summer vacation because he doesn't know where she lives. He doesn't know her phone number. He doesn't even know if she knows that he's coming or not. And he honestly thought if he sent him back there, he would never get him again. During this time, she made a police report on Chad, saying that Chad physically took her son from her home and reportedly fled to Europe. Eventually, the FBI gets involved, and this is when it gets very interesting. They show up to Chad's mother's house and pretty much intimidate her, saying, "We do not care if you are blind." She was blind, by the way, and we do not care if you can barely walk. If we do not get Chad, we're gonna take you instead. Obviously, this intimidation tactic doesn't work on her because she knows a little bit better, and she goes like, "Okay, take me." And they just don't. So the ex-wife ended up making a NCEMC listing, which is pretty much the posters for the missing children, if you guys know, like in grocery stores or online, etc. Because the FBI was actually helping her with this case and said that that was a pretty good idea to do. During all of this, Chad was still working with Microsoft, still traveling around the world, going to different countries, bringing his son with him, of course. And the FBI was supposedly looking for him for kidnapping his son, while knowing exactly where he was, because it's the FBI. They can find out where you are if they really fucking want to, you know? It won't be that difficult for them. In May 2009, in a grand jury, which is pretty much a court system where there are pretty much no lawyers present except for the prosecutor, law enforcement, and the judge. And of course, the witness or whatever. And a prosecutor indicts him for kidnapping of his son, saying he physically removed his son from his ex-wife's house. After this charge happens, they still don't really arrest him or anything. What they do is that they wait for him to go to the worst prison system pretty much in the world, one of the worst ones, Bulgaria. Now, Chad thinks that they chose Bulgaria because obviously it's one of the worst prison systems in the world, and he thought like the reason why they did this is so he would just give up and he would just be like, all right, I'm going, all right, I'll do the time in America. I don't want to be here in Bulgaria anymore. This is too bad. He spent around 3 months in and out of multiple Bulgarian prisons, trying to extradite him as many times as they possibly could. The US was trying to extradite him. During this time in Bulgarian prison, he did just want to give up because obviously it's not the best prison system out there, and he thought that this whole situation could be fixed until he saw the press about the situation. I personally can't find too many news articles that are about this situation or anything, but if you guys check his website, Alex is Not Missing, or I think it's Kuzu the Raccoon now, he has a lot of evidence on there about all this. That's when he changed his mind and decided to do whatever he could to fight this extradition. And once Bulgaria heard about this situation and saw the evidence and everything like that, they actually told the United States, no, we're not extraditing him. Okay, this case is bullshit. We saw the evidence and we are not going to go through with this. So the FBI tried doing some dirty tactics. So they recently revoked his passport, and they tried saying, hey, he has a revoked passport from the US. We can get him extradited on that. But he also had a passport from the Caribbean, and he used that one to get into Bulgaria, luckily. Like, thank God he did that. He tried saying that he was selling drugs, human trafficking, pretty much anything in the book to try to get him extradited or try to keep him in prison as long as they could. They did whatever they could. During all this time, they sent a regional officer to Chad's house in St. Kitts, where they allegedly attempted to take his son away or kidnap him. This obviously did not work, and the officer was actually suspended from being an officer and kicked out of the Caribbean, or kicked out of the country. So finally, Bulgaria decided to help out Chad get out of the country and back to where he has citizenship, which is in the Caribbean, where the US cannot extradite him because he is a citizen and their laws are completely different to ours. Now, before I get into anything more, that's pretty much the gist of the story. But I do want to talk about, is any of this real? I don't want to just like completely push everything away, but this story is fucking insane, and you would be crazy not to question this story. Now, one of the people that I want to talk about that actually kind of berated Chad with these questions of, is this real, and kind of was on the opposite side of everyone else. Everyone else that I've seen like interviews of with him and everything, they kind of are on his side and are like, yo, I believe you 100%, blah, blah, blah. Even I was like that. So there is a streamer called Destiny, and honestly, he did the worst job that I could ever think of doing some investigation into this. So he gets him on his stream, there's about 5,000 people watching, and instantly Destiny just seems so uninterested in the whole situation. He's literally playing Diablo 4 while his homie is asking questions, and his homie's asking him, yo, what's your opinion on this? He's like, I don't know, dude, I haven't seen the documents, blah, blah, blah. He's just such a fucking dick throughout this whole thing. Honestly, this whole thing doesn't get interesting until the lawyers come in, and it's about a 5-hour stream. And even when the lawyers do come in, honestly, one of the lawyers does not sound like a fucking lawyer to me. Okay, he obviously is. Supposedly there's proof out there. I don't know anything, but supposedly he is. And we'll get into that later, but I want to talk about what happened when Chad first joined. So his homie was asking all the questions, you know, doing whatever, while Destiny was just sitting there like playing his fucking game the whole fucking time. Then one of his butt buddies decided to join the call and was pretty much just like being a complete idiot and asking dumb questions like, hey, I don't see a picture of you and your son on your TikTok. Is he even real? Where is he? Is he dead? Like, it's just so stupid. And Chad tries to explain like, yo, my son does not want to be a part of this anymore, okay? He did all the news interviews. He did everything. He's off the missing persons list. He doesn't want to be a part of any of this. And this guy just keeps asking, well, where's the picture of your son? Let me see a picture of your son. Where's a picture of you and him together? It's just so dumb, okay? Destiny's friends are obviously just like there to suck his dick dry, and it's so obvious, okay?
The only picture of your son is like a screenshot of a YouTube
No,
video.
there's a video of him in my news playlist, and if you go to the website and scroll to the news section, there are 2 news videos of him on YouTube.
Him hanging out with you, or is it a screenshot from a
No,
news
it's a video of him talking. If you look at the WBET interview from 2021, it's a video of him talking.
Oh, it's a video of him talking on another platform, right? Not with you. I was talking about, has he ever hung out with you? Like, do you have any pics with him?
Well, I have photos and stuff. Yeah, he lived with us till he was 25, but he's asked me not to distribute them anymore because, listen, guys, the FBI tried to kidnap him. The media has been hounding him. He has basically gone underground. I mean, he does not want to be bothered anymore. He lived with us till he was 25 years old, and now he lives nearby.
So he doesn't want to do content with you. So you hang out with him often.
And overall, throughout this stream, Destiny just is so lazy, and he tries to act like he knows what he's talking about. Whenever Chad brings up some good points, like Destiny will be like, oh, well, this about the documents. He's looking at the documents, and he's like, this in Pennsylvania says that the mother has custody, so how did you get custody? Then Chad keeps telling him like, yo, you need to look at the Tennessee documents also. And then he's just like, okay. Like, you know, like a fucking smartass, okay? And then Chad just says, yo, all the documents in Pennsylvania are lies, okay? They got the dates wrong. They got everything wrong. You need to look at the Tennessee ones. And then Destiny just gets salty and goes like, since these are all lies, I'm not going to read anymore. And, you know, he's just such a bitch, okay?
And have you read through the Tennessee orders that I sent you completely yet? And why did Tennessee have jurisdiction until he was 18? If I'm in violation of the Tennessee order, then why are there no Tennessee orders saying that I'm in violation of any Tennessee custody order?
I'm going to be honest, I got really bored of reading through everything when you said that every single thing I was reading was a lie. So if everything you're sending me to read, you're telling me that it's all like made up and a lie, then
you're misinterpreting. You said that she notified the court. She never notified the court, and the court clearly said that she was in contempt of court for not only not notifying the court, but disappearing under injunction. She was served with an injunction not to leave the state of Tennessee until she showed up to court, and she took off.
Okay. I mean, if you want to show me that link, I guess I can read
did.
that.
I sent you all of this, but you're not reading all of it.
Because every single thing I was reading, you were telling me was a lie or not true. So I was like, okay.
Like, no wonder why he gets cucked by his fucking wife, okay? If you don't know, his wife actually, him and her had an open relationship, and she left him for just some random dude. It's just so funny. It's so, like, I could tell why that would happen, you know? Destiny then got a lawyer into the call, and this is when things get a little bit interesting, okay? Now, the lawyer gets in actually asking some very good questions about the whole situation, actually challenging Chad a little bit. And to be honest, to me, it looked like that the lawyer was actually putting up some good points, and it looked like I was about to scrap this whole fucking video. The lawyer was actually saying some good points about this whole situation. Saying how the whole case is just doesn't make any sense, because why would Pennsylvania even have a say in this at all? And the FBI would definitely see this, and they would not care about the situation. That is until it gets further into the whole thing. At one point, it just becomes a screaming match between the two.
State which has 3 times affirmed the Tennessee orders and jurisdictions priir to this, and she's making it. But you don't think it's fair for her to go to Cyprus?
Given what you're, first of all, given what you're saying, right? Like, and the fact that the child is in Cyprus a lot of the time, I don't
A lot of
necessarily
the
think that
time
it
he
would be.
resides there.
Oh, I don't necessarily.
He's in Cyprus over
Wait,
9
did
months.
I say anything wrong?
Yes, you
What did I
make it
say
sound
wrong?
like he's just visiting Cyprus. He
Is
lives
he there a lot of the time? Wait. Is he there a lot of the time? Yes or no? Is
What's
he there
that?
a lot of the time? Yes or no?
He's there over 9 months. He's enrolled in
Wait. So was he there a lot of the time? Yes or no?
Yes, he was there most of the time.
Wait, so you agree that I just said nothing wrong, right?
In Cyprus, he was there most of the time.
Do you agree that I just said nothing wrong when I was making
We'll
my
repeat
statement?
it to make sure we're getting it right because you seem to be trying to get.
Do you agree that I just said nothing wrong when I said he's there a lot of the time?
He's there where?
In Cyprus. You agree that I said nothing wrong when I said that, right?
He's there in Cyprus.
They even like they bring in another lawyer or two and they start talking about the situation again, and then they're like, okay, well then this actually seems like it's legit. Like after arguing for 2 straight fucking hours about that this is bullshit and the documents don't make any sense and everything, they finally come to the conclusion like, okay, this might be real. Okay, this might be real. After this whole stream, most of his fans, who are mostly children slash hive mind individuals with no self-consciousness, shared their opinions on Reddit, saying things like, it's obvious that the guy went through a rough custody battle and was not happy with the results. He most likely did take his son against the court orders and now posts HOC rationalizes everything. People like him are actually dangerous to me because they give me a false sense of confidence that I cannot be scammed, that my sus radar is perfect. To me, he was very obviously lying from the first instance of half-truths, super long-winded explanations to simple questions, referenced to thousands of pages and paranoia. Now, do I think that this situation is real or not? I think that the situation itself is a real situation. Obviously, there's court documents and everything to prove so. But I do think that there is 2 sides to this story. Honestly, Chad, it seems like that this is just a huge hit piece on your wife, in my own opinion. After really doing a lot of research, he really does talk bad about his wife a lot in this whole situation. Obviously, you know, because she got him in Bulgarian prison and everything like that, but I don't know. It really seems like a one-sided story at this moment in time. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have reached out to his wife for a comment. I did not get anything, or his ex-wife, sorry. I did reach out for a comment or email. I did not get anything in response. Don't ask how I got her email, okay? I have my ways, okay? What can I say? But I literally got no response. This was like about a month ago when I was planning to make this video. So I was just like, okay, whatever. She doesn't want to talk about it probably, so I just left it alone. I really do want to get her side of the story because she is being just slammed on the internet about this. And yeah, Chad, if you are watching this, I'm not calling you a liar, okay? I'm just saying that it seems like a one-sided story at this moment in time. And I would love to get another side of this, but really the only people that know about this whole situation is Chad, his ex-wife, and his son. And honestly, I didn't want to reach out to his son at all because this dude's already been through enough. I do think that this was just a huge shitty custody battle that went completely sideways in both favors here. And it's very sad that the child got mixed up in this, and I know that he's an adult now, but he's gonna have to live with that for the rest of his life. Chad did mention to me and to other interviewers that he's actually reached out to many producers and news articles and everything like that to make a story about this whole situation. He says that they end up just ghosting him or saying, hey, the FBI told me that I cannot make this story. Do I think that is true? Honestly, Chad, I'm not calling you a liar or anything, but no, I do not think it's true. I think that because they have the resources that us smaller YouTubers do not have, because that's really all he's done interviewers with, like smaller YouTubers. I mean, there was one guy who has a podcast and, you know, he seems like a pretty big YouTuber, but he still doesn't have the level of news stuff or Netflix, like resources and everything like that, where they can dig up pretty much anything that they fucking want to. They could dig up shit on your fucking great-great-great-great-grandfather in the 1600s if they really needed to. What I think happened is that they saw some stuff in the court documents or maybe otherwise and were like, no, we're not doing this story. It's just not worth like the time and everything, or maybe they found something that we will never know. Who knows? Let's talk about Chad right now. When I interviewed him back in 2022, he told me that he was having some severe kidney failure and he couldn't even do the essential needs in life like going up and walking, taking out the trash, or fixing something, and he was going completely broke. Right now, present day, Chad actually was granted asylum in Russia, which is the first time this has happened to a United States citizen in a very long time. So obviously Russia knows some things that we do not know, because they wouldn't just let him in if he kidnapped a child and went international. So they obviously know something that we do not know. Maybe they did, who knows, because Russia and the United States aren't the closest, you know, closest at the moment, but But who really knows except for Chad and of course Russia at the moment. Chad is now getting the medical attention that he needs, which is amazing. And hopefully, Chad, you have a long and beautiful future. And I do wish you the best of luck in your future comings. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Guys, this is gonna be the last video of shitty fucking quality. All my quality is just gonna be like this right now. And I can also do 4K. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll do 60 FPS 1080p because honestly 4K is just a little bit too much for me personally. I like the 1080p 60 FPS feel. But you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think that this situation is like on Chad's side or the mother's side? Because I do not know. I really don't. And I would love to hear your guys' opinions. But anyways, please make sure to drop a sub if you did like this video. Literally, if you made it to the end of the video and you watched the whole thing, you might as well drop a sub, you feel me? I'm a smaller YouTuber and I could really use it. And thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for the recent support and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.